Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again here. Today we have Mrs. Pooja Bose. She is the principal to the High Range School, Munnar, Kerala. She has dedicated her life to learners and the educators. With over 26 years of experience in the field of education, she has committed herself towards improving the day-to-day classroom experiences. A 36-year-old the Hillgrange School is a 30 High Range School is a 36-year-old school run by the Tatas for the children of the tea plantation workers. She is also a teacher trainer and afforded to bring new meanings and joy to teaching experiences. She is a recipient of numerous awards and paves the way to innovative practices and pedagogical developments. She indeed is a resourceful and a power packed woman. Let's welcome Mrs. Pooja Bose. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Ms. Reena. And I'd like to thank you and SEAS for giving me this opportunity to connect with so many audiences across the country,
Thank,
world.
thank you
Thank
so much, ma'am.
Today, we have thought about a very interesting subject, and that is our outlook towards change. So, never have we ever felt the impact of change as much as we have felt in the past few months. And we are still dealing with this kind of a rapid change and sudden changes which have come up in our life. There have been numerous changes in our lifestyles and also in our thought processes. I think in the days of lockdown, we have introspected and we have also searched within what is our real purpose of life? Where are we going? What are the wrongdoings which we have been doing and how we can amend ourselves? So, today, when we talk about the subject of change, we have to basically talk to ourselves about the kind of changes which we need to bring about in our life and why are we so scared of change. The main important question is that why are we so scared of changes in our life? Because change and habit is more neurological. It has more psychological, impacts in our system. And so, if we touch upon that, we will be able to manage change better. So, if you permit, can I share some slides with you?
Definitely, ma'am, definitely.
Okay, okay. So, are the slides visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, the first question is, which we need to ask ourselves, is whether we want to be led or we want to lead. That is the vital question. And the other thing is that to improve, we have to change, but to perfect ourselves, we have to change very often. And that has to become a pattern of our life. And we have to be ready for changes time and again, time and again. And that is what is called evolution. In reality, change at first is quite messy. It is quite irritable. You don't understand what is happening. You question it very often. You often doubt it also. And then it becomes, there seems to become a pattern to that change. And in the end, it becomes gorgeous. It becomes something which we accept, which we love, and are very happy with. So it is said that change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous in the end.
Or just
To understand this pattern of life. I love this quote, wanted to share with all of you, better an oops than a what if. So, most of us, when we look back, we think of, we've heard this phrase, if only I would have done that. That sense of regret comes when you are not courageous enough to delve into things which you would have otherwise done had you thought about it in a positive manner. So, optimistically, when you look at the changing patterns of our life around us, and when we try to adjust into those patterns in a positive and optimistic way, then that sense of regret will not come. So, it's better to make mistakes, to fail, and then say that, yes, I tried, but I failed, rather than a sense of regret that what if I would have done that? What if I would have taken up that career? What if I would have said yes to that course? I would have been a changed person. It is said that change is nothing new and a simple fact of life. So we've been growing up. Physically, we have changed so much ever since our childhood. But mentally and psychologically, these changes are more subtle. They are not so visible, but they are happening all the time within our system. How is it that some people actively succeed on new challenges and constantly change themselves, while others they prefer the comfort of the status quo and strongly resist any change? Now, when you're working in an organization, you see that whenever we bring about a new change, a new policy change, or a new change in pattern or a routine change, there will always be a set of people who will keep on questioning why is it this, it was going well, ठीक ही तो चल रहा था. So, and then they kind of form a kind of resistance to the changing patterns around, and there will be a lot of questioning, cross questioning, arguments about the changing patterns around them. So, and then there will be a set of people who will try to experiment with the new changes with a positive outlook. So it's all a matter of outlook and your perspective towards the changes which are happening around your life. Well, making a big life change is pretty scary. But the worst part is regret. I think what's even more scarier is regret. So if you want to be less scared, I think you should be ready to take on the plunge of changing your life pattern.
Ma'am, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Most of the people are very scared of changes,
Yeah.
right? Supposing we are going out, we are always scared. We don't know what kind of a surrounding we might get, what kind of food might be there. We are always scared. That's why we carry loads and loads of things with us while we are going. So
Yes.
now, my point is, now the complete educational scenario is changing
Yeah.
because of the pandemic.
Correct.
How would you put it forward for those people who are scared of the coming change?
So it's very natural to be scared of changes. It's only human to be scared of changes around us because we all prefer the familiar to the unfamiliar. So every teacher is very familiar with the chalk and talk method, and she's very happy to carry her bag in the morning and come to the school, carry her books to the class, and start teaching. What she's not happy and very uncomfortable with is the fact that every morning she has to log into a Zoom class or a Google class and teach in a totally new pattern. And it is very natural for her to feel like that because she has not been prepared to teach in that manner. This I'm talking about purely educational perspective. Likewise, not only education, the entire job market is undergoing so many changes, and people are very scared right now because it is from familiar we are moving into the unknown,
And
unfamiliar. Yes. So that's why we think it is very unsafe. Now, somebody who is on the verge of losing his job is obviously going to feel quite depressed, quite dejected, and is not going to be very, very happy and comfortable with the current state of affairs. But Dalai Lama says, remember that sometimes not getting what you want is a wonderful stroke of luck. Now, what does this mean? So sometimes some changes act as catalyst to throw you into a system or a life which is totally new to you, and you yourself discover a new you. And that is the beauty of change, that it totally reforms you and transforms you. And that is what we have to be ready for right now. And to the question that why do we resist that? it's only natural to resist, but there are some reasons why we don't like changes. And the first reason is that we are creatures of habit. See, what is habit? Researchers have said that habit is actually nothing but a neurological pattern in the brain. It's like a set of neurons connect to each other and form a pattern, and that pattern becomes a habit. So, the habit of getting up in the morning and having a cup of tea, habit of having a cookie or something sweet after food, or a habit of going for a jog every morning, they're all habits. But in neurological terms, these are patterns in the brain, and they are always triggered at a particular time, at a particular moment. And psychologists say that it takes 21 days for a new habit to be formed. And when you take it to the psychological level or the neurological level, it means that for that entire circuit of neurons to be formed, it takes 21 days actually in your brain. So that's why
Right.
we that when you continuously do an act for 21 days, it tends to become a habit. And form a new habit, to change yourself, you have to give 21 days for that.
Right.
It that changed the way you think about change. Like that is the actual.
This is the topic. This is the actual
Yes.
topic.
Yes. So
Exactly.
right now we are trying to discuss that we have to welcome this change. We needed it so badly. We needed the awareness that we are messing with our environment. We needed the awareness that we are overdoing our habits, and we are overdoing work, and we are indulging too much in things which are unnecessary. For so many days we
Right.
have been sitting in our homes, and we have led very simple lifestyles. We actually didn't need that complexity of life which we had been leading, and it was quite toxic for all. So then they say that you can't do today's job with yesterday's method and be in business tomorrow. So one of the
Right.
reasons why change is necessary is that to be in the future, to be successful and to be functional in the future, you have to change the way you work. Most of us
Right.
tend to believe that yesterday's jobs will, the way we worked, हम तो ऐसे ही करते थे, हमारे टाइम में तो यही होता था. These words
यही
are
होता
very
है.
common.
Exactly.
And but then, if you want to be in the business tomorrow, you've got to change, and you have to evolve, and you have to adapt to the new things which are coming up.
Exactly.
And the second reason, biggest reason I would say, is the fear of failure. Now, ever since we are kids, we have been attuned to succeed. We have always been told that nothing succeeds like success. And we validate our success with so many factors, that getting good grades, looking smart, being thin, and also getting a good job. All these are the yardsticks of success, right? And the parents also teach you that it is important to be successful. But no parent prepares you for failure. At present, the parents should teach their children to deal with failure, to deal with moments when they do not succeed. And only
Exactly.
when you are, ready to face failure as much as you are ready to face success, that fear to change will go away. So the fear of the unknown has a lot to do with the fear of failure. So what if I want to start to have a new startup, but what if it fails? What will happen to all my investments? These are some very relevant questions. But then you have to make educated guesses. You have to take calculated risks in life if you want to succeed. And if you are scared of doing that, then most of the time you will remain where you are. And
Exactly.
about changes is mental saturation. So, most of the time, if there are too many rapid changes happening in our lives, then we will not like it. Change also has to happen in the right dose at the right time. Too many changes lead to a phase in your mind which is called saturated stage. And that also is not a very healthy state. The change has to be embedded in our system. The change has to be tested against time. The change has to be felt and enjoyed also. For that, you have to give some time for a particular change to take place and then go on to the next one. The other reason is that the changes are imposed. I mean, it's not you trying to do that. The parents are trying to put pressure on the child that you have to become slim, you have to do well, you have to take up engineering, come what may. And that's an imposed change, and the child himself is not ready for that, and therefore he is resisting it internally. So what will happen that the children who are pushed into engineering colleges or who are pushed into medical colleges, we see that after first year or second year of their courses, they get so fed up, they are just not able to cope with the life there, and so they quit. And this again related to this fact that excessive stress also happens if the change is not natural, it's not organic, or it is not internal.
Right, ma'am. I would like to ask you one thing that, we have been talking about the change, and there are so many things, that are going on. We as adults, we can accept the fact, we can accept the change, but what about the kids? Though they are very excited, oh, our classes are going on online, we are getting this, we are getting that, we are able to be on mobile for quite some time, our teachers are teaching us online. But what after the schools open? Because for 2 3 months continuously they have been on mobiles or laptops, right? Once the schools reopen, there will definitely be numerous changes. How would the teachers play a role in helping the kids adapt to the new systems? Because new systems are not going to be so comfortable like the older ones were. Because there'll be social distancing, there'll be those face shields, masks, gloves. Like, don't you think it's going to be a problem for the kids?
Uh, so Reena ji, problem is going to be there, but if again, like I said, that the outlook towards this change has to change completely. When the schools reopen, first thing is that not all the children are going to come to school.
Yeah,
Uh, we are going to operate with 30% of capacity, so that only one third, if we have 1,000 students, then only one third students are going to come to school, and that's how the pattern of life is going to be. So when it comes to adapting to changes, I think children are much better than adults, by adapting to the newness of the entire environment. For the child, it doesn't take much time to understand what is expected of him, because children are better learners than adults. And adults take more time to unlearn than children. So students have very easily adapted to the changing pattern. And one of the important reasons why this has happened is because children are tech savvy already. See, the was always there. You would see a 2 year old also fidgeting with the mobile and with the laptop,
exactly.
and even the 12-year-old is very good at it. But what is good is now that instead of just being on the social media or playing games, they are studying through it, they are gaining knowledge through it. So if we understand that children were always on the laptop and mobiles actually, but now they are using these gadgets for all the right reasons. So that is the silver lining here. Now, coming to the school pattern, how it's going to change, as you know, that we are going to follow hybrid model of teaching and learning.
Exactly.
Means that out of 6 days, only 2 days or 3 days the child is going to come to school. Other 3 days, again, he's going to go online to do his assignments or to do his learnings, which means that both the things have to survive side by side, the old ways and the new ways. So that adaptability is going to happen sooner or later for everybody. It's just a matter of time. Related to that is the next slide, which says that I'm too old to learn it. Like most of the adults in the house, they say that I am beyond this. I can't learn how to use Instagram or how to use Twitter. But
Exactly.
say that we don't stop learning when we grow old. We grow old when we stop learning. So
Exactly.
time and again your graph of learning keeps going up and up and up, you will see for yourself that you will feel internally younger and more vibrant and more confident about yourself. The problem happens that when we only stick to the rigid patterns of life and feel that it is beyond us to learn, there is nothing actually in the world, in the horizon, which is beyond your reach. So you just have to stretch your hand and reach for it.
Right, right.
Just have a look how we traveled thousands of years ago, how we communicated thousands of years ago, and how we travel now. We were traveling in on bullock carts, on horse carts, and we were communicating through pigeons, through postcards, etc. And now, in split seconds, we can send a message across. We're talking to each other live right now, and we are thousands of miles away from each other. And
Exactly.
travel in few hours and we can reach our destination. But look at the way our classrooms were. You know, education hasn't changed much over a period of time. We used to sit in the classroom with each other, facing the blackboard, facing the teacher, and even now we are facing the teacher sitting in the same way. There hasn't been very many changes which have come in the classroom scenario. So I would say that this pandemic has accelerated the pace of changes which were coming in the educational setups. It is like a catalyst, and now we have leapfrogged into a new pattern of teaching and learning, and that is the good news for us. The positivity of this entire pandemic and lockdown has been that we have got ample opportunities to learn about technology, how to use it for our professions.
Right, right.
This is the end of an era, and a new normal has already emerged that never was. So we have to just open our eyes to see it, that the era has ended and a new era has started. So let us be aware of it and let us delve into it with openness and positivity. This was the pre corona world, people sitting in the classrooms together, huddled up, and people celebrating in a music gig and enjoying a music festival. That was the pre corona world. But the post corona world is going to be very different. We are not going to greet each other the same way. The hug, the bonhomie, the high fives, probably everything is going to go for now at least, till a vaccine is found. You
Right.
know, we plan so many things in life. We all have our goals, we all have our ambitions, we all have our dreams. And we think that we will reach them. But the reality is often very different. It's often bumpy. There are so many hurdles, there are so many distractions. And it takes a very, very long time to reach our goals in actuality. So while our dreams are that we will be able to reach our goals by say this time, but reality may be very different. So let us be
Exactly.
aware of the reality of our circumstances. This is very interesting that the concepts that have changed forever, how have these concepts changed? The world which has changed forever is that we have to adapt now. It is the only key to survival, adaptation. Earlier, it was survival of the fittest, but now it is survival of the quickest. The quicker you change, the quicker you understand, the quicker you accept, the better you are. And then now is the era of forced entrepreneurship. That means that, they say that there's going to be an 80% reduction in salaried jobs now. We are going to enter a gig economy. And in that, people are just going to hire you for the jobs that you do, and then you will be relieved. You will not be employed permanently by any organization. Your specialization, whatever it is going to be taken over for a limited period of time, and then you will be a free bird. That's called the gig economy. And that's the kind of life we have to prepare ourselves for. It's an ego slap by nature. Nature just told us that you thought that you are ruling the earth, but suddenly you have been miniatured by nature.
Exactly.
That
I say
actually,
it in I say it in the other way. I say Mother Earth was telling us, save me, save me, save me. But
hmm,
then ultimately she said, you stay at home, I'll take care of you and I'll take care of myself too.
absolutely true. A small virus has kind of controlled our entire being. So, the humanity, which thought was very powerful, has suddenly been reduced in its stature. So, it's a big ego slap to human beings.
Right, ma'am. Just now you just informed us about the gig economy.
Yeah.
Right. Why is resistance felt strongly in organizations? Because everybody is suffering. Everybody. How can we overcome it?
So, this is very interesting. I'll be coming to that. That how can you deal with these changes? And like I said, that it's not easy to deal with these changes because these changes are not impacting us very positively. Think of a person whose job is in danger. Think of a person who's unable to earn the salary which he was bringing home has stopped completely. Think of those laborers who are simply back home without any vision of what is in store for them in their cities. So there is going to be a problem, there is going to be struggle, but there are solutions to the struggle, and I'll be coming to that in a short while. The top 20 affected industries which are there around us are tourism, cinema, sports. Everything has been impacted negatively. We are not going to have the same jobs as we had pre-corona. Hospitality industry has completely, collapsed. The luxury products are also, nobody is buying luxury products because they feel that we are not going to go on voyages and trips. We are not going to plan any outings. We are not going to have parties. So the luxury product market has also gone. Automotive market also has gone down because people are not traveling anymore. The construction work is also negatively impacted. Well, there are some winning industries also. Like I said, the digital products. Now the companies which were making apps, for them it's a great time. The gig economy, the stock market industry, the home gardening industry, mental health, online teaching and coaching, alternate energy sources, and insurance. Now all of these industries are the winning industries. There is a lot of expansion happening in these industries because the avenues have increased many folds. Another boost to the gaming industry, to the alternative medicines like the other forms of therapy, and then the healthcare market. Lot of expansion, lot of changes, lot of developments are happening in the healthcare market, and more will happen. So it's good to invest in healthcare right now. Then other forms of marketing, like the e-marketing, is going to take the center stage. Then the data science and the spiritual science, mental wellness, spirit, the yoga, then Reiki, all these industries are going to be sought after by people because there is a lot of stress. People want to deal with this stress. People want to de-stress themselves and feel happy and feel content. And for that, we'll need more spiritual people around us, coaches around us. So this is a good time for these kind of industries. What has changed around us? The way social interaction was, going to parties, going for dinners, having kitties, having socialization, all that has changed completely. Our work style has changed. Most of the offices feel that we don't need so much of office space. We are fine with workers sitting in their homes, and employees are working from their home is fine. We don't have to pay huge rents and have plush offices anymore. The usage of internet has expanded. There is a boom in the internet usage, and the internet vendors are having a gala time.
Exactly.
Health consciousness. The
When
awareness.
we were discussing about this problem a few minutes ago, like
Uh-huh.
this was like I was very confused whether we'll be able to go online or not.
Yeah, true. In fact, now internet is no more a luxury. It's an essential commodity, I would say now. As much as your kitchen items are there, now you need a fridge, you
Exactly.
need kitchen items, you need a microwave, you also need internet as much. You can't do without it
Exactly.
anymore. So the consciousness about health also, if you see around, people have suddenly become aware that we need to develop our immunity. Ultimately, it's our body, our immune system, which is going to work for us. So the virus is going to be around for some time, and not
Yeah.
everybody will be affected by it, not everybody will be damaged by it. What is that one factor which is going to remain, which is more important for people to stay healthy and stay strong, is your personal immune system. So health consciousness has increased, pollution has come down, people aren't traveling as much, that crazy drive to go from one place to the other, the travel routines, the overnight travel patterns, everything is, there is a calmness in everything, and people think 4 5 times before planning, for travel or having an air travel or going to a place. So it's, in a way, it's good, that we are having putting brakes on our own, in our own lives. So in a way, it's good. Our priorities have changed, I would say, quite an extent. I don't know how to put this, but there's been so much of introspection, and people have started thinking about what is important for them, what were they doing, and what better they can do. Suddenly, the bonding between family members has increased. The
Exactly.
the feeling that we've got to look after each other as a family has become more important. We become more aware of the fact that our old parents are living so far away from us. How will we look after them? So there has been a reshuffling and rearrangement of our lives' priorities.
Correct.
What has changed? The entire business models are going to go for a change. The family time has changed. Expenses have dropped. Haven't you seen that you are spending so much less? You,
Exactly. We have really observed it. Like earlier, we were going to malls, we were going here, we were going there, and like we were just spending and recklessly.
how much were we eating out? And now we all cook everything at home. We also cook
Exactly.
expensive recipes at home. So
Thanks to
it's
YouTube. Thanks to YouTube. Everything
yes.
is available. You can learn anything there.
Correct, correct. The way we are going to get educated has changed. We will not be, resorting to those. Now, let me also tell you that uh, earlier children were sent to Kota and all these places, like some small towns for IIT coaching, or they were huddled in small rooms for IES preparation, etc. in various places. Now the parents are not going to send their children for to Kota or to these small coaching centers to get ready for competitive exams. Neither are parents going to send their children preferably to overseas for higher education, because according to them it's a big stress to call the children back. Now many of my friends whose kids were abroad, they had to pay 3 times the airfare to get the child back. And now they say that even if we send our children back to foreign universities where they are enrolled, to where is the guarantee that the second phase of lockdown will not happen? So they are quite scared now. And for them right now, the best option is that you keep your kids closer to yourself and try to manage their education in that way. So there is a huge shift in the way we were thinking about education. Food will change. Now, again, the way food was prepared, the food was delivered, it's all going to change. And there's going to be more of home cooked food than the food which was cooked in outside in restaurants. Entertainment industry. I don't
It's
know how much, when will we see a cinema next? I think
exactly.
this is a great time for Netflix and other channels, Prime Video.
Hotstar, Netflix, you name them and the kids know it. Amazon Prime, like they are all stuck to it. They are like they stuck to it like magnets.
So, what is that showing? It shows that the entertainment industry also will be undergoing a great shift, a transformation. And now the movies or the serials which are going to be made will be made for the audience sitting at home. So I read one very interesting post today, which was that there was an empty cinema hall, and on the screen was written, if only they would not have sold the popcorn for 150 rupees and Coke for 200 rupees, things would have. This is karma coming back. So that was in lighter vein. So the entertainment industry has also changed. The environment has changed.
It's really like over here in Haridwar and Rishikesh, Ganga is flowing. It's pretty clean. It
Yes.
was there in the news also. Like all the rivers are getting clean. The ozone layer is repairing. Yamuna, which used to be
Yes.
very dirty, is clean now.
So actually, nature is healing itself.
Exactly.
It's a great healing process happening, and probably human beings are also healing themselves in the bargain. It's a healing of
Yes.
things as well as water, air, animals. Delhi has
Everything.
so many peacocks as much as it has seen during pandemics. So you can well imagine that the animals were hidden somewhere. They were choking, and for the first time they came out. We could see so many birds chirping outside our balconies. So it was just amazing.
In fact, there are these videos and posters being circulated, like the human beings are in the zoo and the animals are roaming around free.
Yes.
So that is how nature is healing itself. Like I said earlier, Mother Earth told us, "You save me, you save me, you save me," but nobody cared for it because they were busy building their homes, they were busy building their infrastructure, they were busy building, making the cities concrete jungle. So
It
then
was
she said, "Now I need to put a full stop to it."
Yeah,
So she did
it
it.
was just a rat race, and we were just running in that rat race. And suddenly there was a big speed breaker, a bump in the road, and then we had to stop. There was no choice given to
I
us.
think it was a gorge. It was not a speed breaker, but a gorge where all of us fell into it. Now it's done.
Yes, it's true. So I'm going to you earlier talked about the resistance to change and how do we deal with this resistance. So there's a wonderful way of dealing with resistance, and that is called kaizen. It is the Japanese word which is a technique for bringing about improvement or change for better. So Kaizen is a technique which is followed by so many multinational companies, for example, Toyota, and they follow this Kaizen way of life in their organizations so that they can improve. And it is simply defined as a continuous effort by each and every employee, right from the CEO to the field staff, to ensure improvement of all processes and systems of a particular organization. That means that, first of all, in case you feel that there is something going wrong in the organization, so don't feel that only the people who are at the ground level have to change. It is the change has to come in everyone, right from the top to the bottom. And they have to ensure that everything improves. Change for better. Remember, change is not in itself a complete thing. The change has to be for betterment. Many changes are not for betterment, but there is a downgrading of the way things are. That's not Kaizen. Kaizen is improvement of all the processes and systems of a particular organization. In
So,
this, there are two words, Kai and Zen. And Kai means change, and Zen means good. So, which means change for good. And this is the basic principle of Kaizen. Now, these are the 10 principles of Kaizen. First and foremost is there is an area for improvement in everyone's life, no matter how successful they are. So never stop improving. The second is let go of former habits, even if they seem to have some benefit to you at that particular time. You have to eliminate the old practices somehow. Be proactive. That means stop hesitating because of possible hurdles that you foresee and move forward towards your goal. Don't assume new methods will work. Just because something worked for someone does not mean that it will necessarily work for you. So you have to actually adapt to the new things after analyzing whether what worked for them may work for you or not. Like in terms of we copying the Western way of life, whatever is happening in US or in Europe is not really going to do well for us. We cannot really, I often tell people who are propagating that this is how you should teach in the classroom. I say that in West, every classroom has 20 students and two teachers. Is that the same scenario in India, wherein we have seen classrooms with 60 students and one teacher? While taking attendance, that teacher is not
Ma'am,
able to take everybody's names also.
60 is a very small number. At places, it's 80 also.
Yes, there's
It's
no
80 also.
in the classroom. So you can't assume that what is working for the West will work for us also. We have to be aware of our circumstances. Then the fifth one says that make corrections, then recognize the areas in your life that can use improvement and make relevant corrections, and then progress. Also, very, very important is empower all your employees to speak up, to
Speak up.
voice their opinion, so that they feel participative in an organization. Crowdsource, that is, learn from other people and get some new ideas also, so that you know that what is going on in the minds of your other colleagues. Practice the 5 why method. And I'll come to this 5 why method in later slides. So you have to continuously ask yourself, why am I doing this? How will I do it? What is the best way of doing this? These questions you have to keep on asking yourself all the time so that you're always on the right path. Ninth, according to Kaizen, is be economical. Don't unnecessarily overspend while you can do with spending less also for a particular project. And then don't stop. That never consider that you are finished. Your improvement has actually no limits, and you have to be a lifelong learner. So the Kaizen says that try to do something just a little bit better each day in order to make your life better. If things aren't going right, throw out all your fixed ideas and traditional ways of doing things. For example, you have to continuously ask, what am I teaching? How will I teach it? How will I know if the students have understood or not? And whom am I teaching? If you keep on asking these questions to yourself, automatically your lesson planning, your practices in classroom will improve. Important is to treat others the way you want to be treated. This is an age old proverb, but probably we don't internalize it that much. In our
Exactly.
workplaces, also, we try to, do we really treat our peons and our ayas and our
Not
subordinates?
everybody. Not everybody.
Yes, we are in our minds. We have been brought in a hierarchical manner, and some of us have, really slogged our way up the hierarchy. And so we say that now we are there, and now we have to sort it out. We have to get it back from the people. So it is that feeling which has to go. You have to treat others with dignity. You have to treat everybody with respect. And that is something which we all have to learn. It doesn't come naturally to us, but we have to keep trying. Think positive, don't say can't. And you have to basically turn obstacles to opportunity. One of the obstacle being this pandemic, treat it like an opportunity. And whether you think you can or you can't, both ways you are right. So it all depends on your outlook and your attitude towards the life in totality. Don't wait for perfection. 1% improvement now is fine. So this is the Kaizen way. Now, whenever you have a goal in mind and you feel this is unachievable. I can't lose 5 kgs. It is difficult for me to lose 5 kg in 1 month. But that should not be your goal. According to Kaizen, you have to just say that day one, I have to just exercise for half an hour. Day two, I'll exercise for 45 minutes. Day three, I'll do it for 1 hour. That's how you will keep on making that 1% improvement, and that is going to lead you towards your goal. So don't have lofty goals because they are going to weigh you down, they are going to bog you down. So once you have made a target, you have made an aim, every day you have to make small improvements in what you did the previous day. So that is something which seems to be achievable also, and you feel less stressed while working on it.
Ma'am, how do you feel that the Kaizen philosophy will work in India? What would be the methods to get this philosophy followed over here?
So
Because whatever was all those 10 points, I don't think many of us we follow them.
very true. See, in India, unfortunately, we have so many other factors which govern our choices. They may be gender, they may be caste, they may be, some groupism or some politics which happen in our country. The Kaizen philosophy will work only if everybody understands that we need to improve. First of all, the consensus that a change and improvement is required. If you don't have that consensus and that agreement between people, there will be no change. So, first and foremost, get everybody on the same page and also be fair and be transparent in all that you do. Where you have to say, not that you need to change, you have to say that we need to change because you are also part of that change and transformation which you want to see in your organization. Like the famous saying by Gandhiji, be the change you want to be and you want to see, you have to be that change. So that has to be in your habit, in your system. And that is how in India people are going to be ready for that big change. Because resistance is more in organizations where the change doesn't come from top down. The change has to travel from top to the bottom and not the other way around. So let's take the example of punctuality. How many people actually practice punctuality? You see, our VIPs only come late. Our politicians are never on time. We make promises which we don't behold. So, what message are we going giving to our students or our teachers? When you yourself don't appear for an event on time, naturally the teachers will also think that he doesn't walk the talk. He says a lot about honesty, about punctuality, but in reality, his actions speak otherwise. So we've got to
Yes.
bring out that change through our actions, not through our words.
Great.
The third concept, which is very interesting, is I got it from the book, The Power of Habit. And this talks about that to create lasting changes, it is more effective to target our habits. Almost 40% of our actions, actually, each day are the result of habits and not decisions. Scientists have found that the replacement of just one set of neurological pattern can overhaul them all. So, habit formation is actually very neurological. Like I said, it takes 21 days for a pattern of neurons to be formed into a habit. So, if we understand that, our actions, whatever we do, we can change our habits by changing our attitude towards habits. Habits emerge without our consent, first of all. To save energy, the brain creates a habit loop that looks for a trigger to cue a behavior. And to form a habit loop, the brain first looks for a cue or a trigger, and that tells the brain when to begin the next element, and it becomes a routine, like having tea in the morning or having that sweet after food every day. That is basically a habit which becomes your routine. The cravings are what drives habits and are the key to most successful advertising campaigns. For example, when the advertising for chips happens, they actually target your cravings. What is it you look for? You look for socialization, you look for excitement, you look for friendships, and they show that in that party or in that socialization pattern, you will enjoy more if you have a packet of chips in your hands. So that's how advertising campaigns work. They target your habits, they target your cravings, what you want from life. Any change can occur with the right framework.
Old
For
habits die
example,
hard.
a craving for an ice cream. You know, they say old habits die hard. They just stick to you and you can't do without it. So you have to have the right mental framework if you want to change that habit. You can replace old habits with new ones by shifting routines. Now, like it's very difficult to change your habits in reality. But what you can change is your routine, which means that every morning I get up, I go straight to the kitchen to prepare my cup of tea. And if I want to break that habit, I have to shift my going to the kitchen. Instead, I have to go out in the garden to change my entire environment around me so that I don't think about that cup of tea. So replace your old habits with something new. You have to replace something new, otherwise, that habit will keep coming back. That monster will keep coming back to you. But only belief will keep you from relapsing. What happens is you may do that for 2 days, 3 days. But then on the fifth day, you may want to go back. That enough is enough. I cannot, I want that cup of tea so badly. So everyone relapses to old habits in times of stress. But the key to not ditching your new habits completely is the belief that you can stick to them. So here comes your mental strength, your stamina, that you can stick to the new habit by trying harder.
Basically, we can say that this is a method of imbibing the self control psychology.
Very true. Self control and perseverance, the power of perseverance. That yes, we have to continue to stick to our beliefs, continue to stick to the new changes that we have made. And people who have that power of perseverance will emerge as winners. They'll change more often. You know, the beauty of life is that we have to make small changes, which will eventually add up to big results. So remember that it's easy to make smaller changes than big changes. So remember to keep on continuously making small changes in your life to add up to big results. So this is something which I wanted to share with all of you, that these are some of the activities which we have done in our school during online, teaching, and during the lockdown period. We did an online debate. This is how we changed. We thought that children were getting too stressed with academics, and we thought that let's bring some fun into their lives. So we had one complete week of fun learn, in which children did so many activities which they would have done on stage otherwise. But then we thought, how can we transform and translate those activities to virtual activities? So we did a virtual debate on the environment, the during the environment day. We also did one play. It was a skit, actually, inter-house skit, and that was very interesting. That children were, they were sitting in their respective homes, but they, with the help of technology, they connected their lines and their scripts, and they created skits around the theme where
Right.
Corona. So it
This
was
is the this is the advantage of online schooling for children.
yes, yes. So the way they directed the whole skit and the way they choreographed their entire skit was amazing. We say that children will not be able to adapt to the new life, but I would say that children will be the best people to adapt to the new life. The way they have, this skit is an example to show how our children, our students, easily transform themselves to remote actors. They just created a skit on their own. They were directors and they were actors and they were musicians in that skit. So it was wonderful to see that. Then we also had the investiture ceremony, virtual investiture ceremony, where we had, we declared our head boy, head girl, because as you know, the session has started, and these are the things which happen in the beginning of a session. So we thought
Exactly.
we stop at any pandemic. Our life should go on. The show must go on. So we did all of that, and these are some of the pictures which happened during that time. So yeah, so this is my sharing with you. And thank you so much for
We
listening.
still have time if you want to give another message. We still have time. Though we started 10 minutes earlier, but yes, everybody is enjoying it.
Lovely. No, you if you have any questions, you are
I
welcome to
think
ask.
most of the questions are quite clearly answered.
Hmm.
The only thing is that keeps on popping up in my mind is that yes, some or the other way we have brought everybody on the same platform, be it
Hmm.
parents, teachers, be it students. Like day before yesterday, Mr. Anil Sarup said that we need to be partners in everything. Like we have been partners in crime, we need to be partners in bringing up each other, supporting each other, not feel letting them feel down.
Surely, partners in everything. When you say this, I would say that there was a section of parents initially when this online classes started. They felt too exasperated with the whole thing. Suddenly, for them, their responsibility in teaching the students increased many folds, because to have a 5 or 6 year old child sitting in the home and ensuring that she or he participates in the class becomes the parent's responsibility. So for them, it had become too much to ensure that from morning 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock, you have to monitor the child that he or she is working. So now what we have understood is that no longer can the triangle of student, teacher, and parent be separated. Earlier, it was 80% teacher's responsibility to teach the child. But now it's like 30, 30, 40. That child also has to be responsible for his learning. Parent also has to be responsible to ensure that he or she learns by providing a good environment, no distraction. Child should be ready, given bath, breakfast ready, everything should be given to the child, and now you sit on the table to start learning. And the teacher also be should be ready to deliver the learning process. So they say that there is a change in the role of the teacher. Now the teacher is an informer, the teacher is a transformer, and teacher is a performer. So now three roles the teacher is doing of an informer, a transformer, and also a performer. That's the beauty of change.
Ma'am, how are people going to tackle the change? This is a sudden change. After Corona, a sudden pandemic change we can call it. And ma'am, how I don't know whether they will be able to accept it or not, because acceptance is a very big challenge for everybody. Like we started off with,
They have a choice, you think?
no choice left, no
There is
choice.
no choice left for us but to accept this change. We have to change the questions now to suit the answers, right? By changing the questions which we were posing to ourselves and to the people around us, now the questions have to change because the answers are already there. So it's up to like the survival, not of the fittest, but of the quickest.
Quick.
Anybody who understands that this is a new shift, let me quickly change my work style, let me quickly change the way I think, let me quickly change the way I do my job. The first few who are going to bring about these changes are going to take an edge over others. Then there will be always others. No, within 1 year or 6 months, things will become normal, things will change. We are thinking like that. But remember that maybe even when the vaccine is found for this particular virus, another one might emerge. What are you going to do then? So it's better.
Exactly, like after SARS, there was swine flu, there was this. There have been so many like plague and all. It has been there since the very beginning. We need to be more aware and more capable of handling it, and we need to accept the change.
We have to be ready now for any kind of change, and for that we have to have alternate ways ready with us, alternate ways to work, to do
Exactly.
our meetings, to do our training sessions, to do our learnings. Everything has to, again, I'll tell you now, since not very many people are going to have 5-year courses or six
Ma'am,
year
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Your voice is changing. Your voice is cracking.
Is it?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that earlier there was this trend of doing your graduation and then your post graduation and then your research. The people were ready for doing all of, but now, as we see, now the learning is going to be more mobile. People would be on the go. They will learn on the go. That means that they will not be spending 3 4 5 years in, in some master's degree or in some sort of college or campus. They would rather that they start working, and whatever knowledge for that particular job they want, they will go for a gig economy. Like they will go for people who are specialists, they will take the learnings from them, and then they will use them in their work. Like that, learning will happen. This entire attitude and perspective towards learning is going to change dramatically. It's going to be at the right time for the right person and the right content. It's not going to have wastage of time. Remember, children traveling for 1 hour, 2 hours in school buses, reaching their school, and by the time they reach school, they're already so tired, and they don't have energy for classes.
There is definitely going to be change. There will definitely be lots of changes which people will be accepting open heartedly. And let's pray for a better future for our kids and for everybody around.
Sure.
Before your signals rush off because of the rains in Munnar, I think we should wind up, otherwise, there are going to be broken sounds.
Yes. Now we are subject to nature God, so we have to.
Nature, exactly. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving
Thank
your
you.
precious
Thank you so
time.
much. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Same here, ma'am. Thank you so much. So this was Mrs. Pooja Bose. Tomorrow we will be welcoming Mrs. Kusum Kanwar. She is from Mumbai and she will be talking about bringing the schools home. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.